Now that everyone's feeling more refreshed and better, I can start my talk right now. Okay. Before I begin, I got a question to ask all of you. How many of you here have heard these words before? That love is the answer. Hands up. No one has said, what? Oh, okay. Now this word, love is the answer. Oh man, you guys messed up my role there. Okay, these words right here, love is the answer, has actually been said over and over again by some of the most influential people of our time. And people of the past, people of the present, fictional and non-fictional as well. But what did they actually mean? Could it have been something like this? Or maybe a little more family kind of love. Or perhaps the kind of love that we all like. Okay. But what I found is that it was actually a crazy idea that love could actually change the world. And what I mean by this is that love could actually influence the actions that we take. It could influence the way that we run businesses, for example. Or it would influence the way that we go to work, or that we educate ourselves, or that we learn. We could also influence the way that you and I post on Instagram. Maybe, maybe not. And the thing about that is that how can something so simple as love make such a huge impact in our lives here today? Let's take a closer look. How many of you here have been in love before? Hands up. Come on, I gotta see more hands than this, man. Great. The rest of you haven't been in love before, no girlfriends, boyfriends? Family love. Okay, now, do you remember the kind of decisions that you made when you were in love? Yes, no? The kind of decisions that you made? I remember the kind of decisions that I made, and they were really crazy. I did some really stupid things. I remember my mom used to have a box full of padlocks, which she used to use to change the locks on our gate every week. You know what? Because we used to duplicate, my sister and I used to duplicate the keys, and we used to find a way how to escape from the house, you know, and go with our girlfriends and boyfriends. And then one day my mom got pissed off and she said, alright, you guys want to stay out of the house so much, right? Yeah, I'm going to lock the gate, you guys stay out. So, you know, yeah. And what I'm trying to say is that love made us do some pretty crazy things. And look at what love made some guys do. I mean, like, you know, on the cover. You get what I mean? Like, really? What? Love makes us do things that's out of our boundaries. And how can something that's caused me so much of trouble or problems in my life be the solution to all my problems today? And that's what I'm going to share with you about. Now, let me tell you a story. And the story is love really the answer to our questions? Or is it just a myth? Or a message of hope? Or maybe a metaphor that we use? About 4 years ago, when my fiancée, myself and my sister, three of us started up a business. We started out with mainly about 500 ringgit. And we worked really hard. And 6 to 8 months later, we found ourselves opening up our first store at Granny Plaza, Penang. And that happens to be one of the most expensive malls in Penang as well. And prior to this whole thing, let's move back 2 years. Now, 2 years before, we used to be broke, we were jobless. And what that meant was that we had a lot of time to prepare. That means we had a lot of time to actually figure things out, to find our plans to face the obstacles that we're going to face. We had a lot of time to actually envision the whole company and what it can possibly become. Now, that's a lot of time, right? 2 years. So move back now into the future. And we thought, what could go wrong, right? I mean, we had so much time, 2 years to prepare it, and nothing is going to go wrong. We just needed 10, 20 customers a day, maybe. And that 10, 20 customers probably could get us, you know, some really good income. But we were so wrong, and we found ourselves in a battle of our lives. We found ourselves struggling so hard to actually survive. And 6 months after that, we were 60 days away from closing down. And I found myself in a dark room, in a corner, with a gun in my mouth, and waiting to pull the trigger. No man, just kidding. Just checking you all are still with me. You should have seen the look on my mom's face. She was like, oh my son. Mom, I'm crazy, but I'm not that crazy. Okay, back to it. Okay. 60 days to lose everything that we've ever built, and 60 days to basically restart over again. That's a scary thought. How did we go from a successful startup of 500 ringgit that started out with so little cash, being so successful in 1 year, and almost bankrupt within the same year. How did we do that? That's a cool magic trick, you know. What happened was when we are in this struggle, I think this is relevant to all of us, when we are in this struggle of surviving, we are in the struggle of fighting the battles to keep ourselves afloat. We enter this mode of where we start thinking about money, where we start finding ways to make more sales, make more profit, so that we can actually survive and we can actually stay up there, right? I think, and that is common sense. But what actually, when we go into such a mode, what we did was that we started looking at our competitors and we started trying to duplicate their success. And 6 months later, when we stood outside the shop, we looked back inside and we realized that the shop actually, there was nothing in there that reflected us. It was filled with things that did not shout our name. And we understood at that moment that it wasn't about finding more sales or finding more profit. It was about finding ourselves again. And I'm glad to say right now we are entering our 5th year in Gary Plaza, so things are looking up. So, but to look at how all this happened, and how did love actually pull us out of such a deep situation that we were in, because we started to follow our passion again. And I listed out a few things right here, which I'm going to show you how we actually use love to overcome the challenges that we face in work today. Number one, in terms of handling employees or underperforming staff, one of the easy way out is to actually start the elimination process, which means it's a nicer way of saying that let's get rid of the rotten apple, right? But if we were to follow the path of love, what we would actually do is that we would start to find out what's wrong, what changed, what happened, or did we cause something that's not working now? And if we did, how can we improve? And moving that way, we have a 50-50 chance of changing the situation and a 50-50 chance of getting them back fired up again. But if we were to choose the path of no love, we would have eliminated all chances of that happening. If you were to look at how we keep up with customer demands, for example, now in terms of customer demands, we can either have take it or leave it attitude, you know, yeah, that's it, this is what we sell. Or we could even go in the way of love where let's give it a shot, let's give it a try, let's do whatever we can to meet their demands. And choosing love, there's only 2 results that's going to come out of this in this particular situation. It's either we're going to make it or not. So if we make it, that's good, right? And if we don't, at least the customer knows that we tried. And that's all the difference in the world today. And that's going to make a huge difference if you guys are going to go on into business school someday. Marketing, one of the biggest things about branding, about marketing is keeping a brand that's alive and creating a good brand. And to do that, there's a couple of ways. And one of the ways is to actually paint an image. We paint an image of what we want you to see about us and what we want you to think about us. And that is not necessarily the truth. Or we can either follow the path of love, which is either to show you perspective of who we are, and to give you, and to help you understand our identity better, to help you connect with us more on a human level. And for me, I feel that the future of marketing is going to be in honesty, in truth, and in love. And it's in this sort of things that's going to make a huge difference in the future of our children, our children's children. And finally, for products, one of the greatest challenges of creating products is the creativity behind every product. And one of the things that stops creativity is profits. Now, I want you to imagine yourself right here, right now, in the process of creating a product, and you have profit as the center of your mind. Now, when you think of profits, what happens is that you start to eliminate you start to find ways to cut corners. You start to find ways to make it cheaper, right? And if you were to replace profit with the idea of passion, the love for that thing, that creation that you're bringing to life, you will actually stop thinking about ways to make it cheaper and you'll start thinking about ways to make it the best that it can possibly become. And that, to me, is the difference between good and great companies today. Now, love has actually helped us in a lot of ways, in terms of personally, and also in terms of business and work. But we thought, okay, now love can do all this for us. What else could love possibly do? Could love maybe stop animal cruelty that's happening in the world? Maybe, maybe not. Could love maybe end wars or end the hunger or the poverty-stricken countries that we're facing right now? Could love possibly end environmental problems? Now, if you look at it from this perspective, I believe the images that you see on the screen today are acts from people that are acting out of the absence of love. If they were to use a single ounce of love in the decision-making process, this would not be the result that we gave. And I strongly believe this as well. Why I'm saying this and why I'm showing you all this, or why am I talking about love here? It's because I think it's going to matter to you and me. It's going to be really relevant to all of you here. How many of you here are students right now of USM? Wow. Okay. Now, all of us here, we are going to be the future leaders of our country someday, right? Some of us might be the leaders in our field. Some of us probably in diplomat. Some of us maybe engineering, most of you here. Some of us probably on a global scale, you never know. But what that means is that the older that you get, the bigger the decision becomes that you have to make. And the bigger the decision becomes, it means the more people your decision is going to affect. So what that means is that we need to learn how to make better decisions. And I think one of the ways to make better decisions is making it out of love. Now, how do we do that? This is the secret to this whole talk. So, when you have a decision, right, a question in front of you, it can be as simple as maybe choosing a toothbrush color, or something bigger like ending world problems. But how do you make a decision that matters? Now, there's going to be two things. One, it has everything to do with love right here. Two, it has everything to do with not love. Now, how do you know if it's with love? Choosing love means you're choosing not to hurt others with your decision. Choosing love means you're choosing happiness. Inside of you, you get happy, you get excited, you want to jump for joy. Choosing love means doing the right thing. And doing the right thing often means you might even lose. You might not win in that decision. I've faced that a lot of times. But one thing that's important, life is not about winning and losing. It's about doing the right thing. And your decisions in the future is going to affect those in their future. And we might not see this future, but it's going to affect them. So we have to be really careful about the decisions that we make. And before I end, I want to share with you a little story. About 3 weeks ago, I met with the curators of TEDx. That was like, I think the beginning of the month, 3rd of November or something like that. I met with the curators of TEDx, and he was talking about a speech that was supposed to happen here today. This was supposed to be the exact speech or the exact starting introduction that I was supposed to give. The title is called Love is the Answer, but what it actually contains is that how that we can actually use love, how I use love to find my passion, how I use love to start the business, and how you can also use love to do the same. Now that would have been a very different speech now, wouldn't it? It would have sounded really different. And for many months, this was what was being practiced. But shortly, about 3 or 4 weeks ago, the day before meeting the curators, I told my fiancée, I was like, honey, I don't think I can do this. I don't think I can go up on this stage and talk about business when we know there's something more important than this. That we found a way to make better decisions in life, and we are practicing it every day, and it makes a change. I think they need to know this. And that is a huge stage. You know, being on TED is one of my dreams. And being on TED also means that the responsibility is big for all the speakers here. It's a huge responsibility being here. And what that means is that all of you are counting on us. All of you are counting on us to do the right thing and to make sure that our actions count someday. And when I met the curators the following day, and to be honest, I thought they would not go with it because, you know, it's so short, it's 3 weeks. And when I told them the whole thing, I told them my story, and they were like, you know what, Josh, if you think that's the right thing to do, just go ahead with it. And I like to take this opportunity to thank them for giving me the chance to do this here and giving me the chance to talk about love instead of about business, which is boring, right? Let's give them a round of applause. Before I end my talk right here, I want to put things in a bigger perspective for all of you to see. And I hope that you can see from this point of view how much love can actually change the world. And if you really practice it, what sort of difference it can make. Now, what if schools, educations, universities, colleges were run on love? What if businesses were built on love? And what if governments were guided by love? What kind of world would we have? And that, to me, ladies and gentlemen, is an idea worth spreading. Thank you.